It's been a month since Tesla unveiled its Cybertruck, and everyone's been talking about it. As a matter of fact, that's the only thing that everyone's been talking about. But today, I wanted to address something that not too many people are talking about as far as the Cybertruck is concerned. But there's some hidden costs that people who will be buying them, which could include myself as well, will have to deal with. We don't know everything, obviously, right now, because this is a very early prototype. I'm sure things might change. But there's a couple of things that we should probably discuss. I'm not going to do it by myself here. I'm going to do it with Tom Moloughney, the contributor to InsideEVs and a weekly contributor to this channel in his weekly segment Plugged In with Tom Moloughney. Of course, there are a few more contributors that we just picked up. Of course, you know Eli Burton of My Tesla Adventure. But for new ones, just in case if you did not know, Sandy Munro is joining us. We already did a first segment with him. Check it out on the channel. The CEO of Faraday Future, Karsten Breitfeld. Roger That is the segment with Roger Atkins, a big European electric car expert, and Rich Rebuild. So I'm really excited about all of the contributors. But today I'm talking to Tom, and we have a few things to discuss. Of course, if you haven't subscribed for some reason to this channel, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and the bell notification icon so you don't miss anything moving forward. And of course, a quick reminder that this channel is sponsored by Byton. Check out their all-electric SUV coming to the US and Europe. $0, €0, zero, no money down to reserve one, so I don't really know why you wouldn't. It takes about a minute of your time, and the link is conveniently located in the description of this video, so go there and reserve your Byton today. All right, without further ado, let me talk to Tom. Tom, tell us a little bit about what we can expect from some of the challenges when it comes to those who will be getting the Cybertruck.
Hey, Alex. So yeah, you know, we just can't stop talking about the Cybertruck.
We cannot.
For good reason.
We cannot.
This is like what everybody wants to read about, you know, and of course now we're going to get comments. People are going to say, no, we don't want to read about this. But the fact of the matter is, we look at all the highest volume posts on InsideEVs where I contribute right now. Everything is Cybertruck.
For something this ugly that everybody says, oh, it's so ugly, but I definitely want to talk about it and see it every day. So
it's amazing. Everybody wants to talk about it. When I'm on the street, when I'm, you know, a lot of people know me around here in New Jersey that I'm like the electric car guy, quote unquote. It's all they want to talk about. What about that truck? You know, do you like the truck? Do you think you're going to get the truck? It's like more so than any of the other cars that Tesla brought out. People just want to talk about this thing. And I love that. I love the fact that it's getting people excited about electric cars. It's getting people to talk about electric vehicles. You know, it's part of the reason why I like the i3 so much. And you and I keep going back and forth on how you hate it and I love it and yada, yada, back and forth. But what I really loved about the i3 more than anything, yeah, I know it's unconventional looks and all that stuff, was that BMW did something that nobody else was doing before. At the time and has done since. So you can criticize it. You could say, I hate that little car. It's ugly. It doesn't go far. That's fine. You can have your own opinions. But BMW, what they did with that by using the carbon fiber body, you know, the thermoplastic panels, all aluminum, nobody was doing that. And I like when automakers step out of the comfort zone and do stuff that nobody else is doing. And I mean, there's no better example than the Cybertruck, you know? So whenever you do something new, whenever you do something that other people aren't doing, there's going to be problems with that when you're kind of pioneering. BMW ran into problems with their carbon fiber reinforced plastic frames with, you know, with they thought it would be easier to repair. And, you know, pretty much now if an i3 has an accident, if the frame has a crack in it, it's totaled. Even if it's just barely cracked, they don't even try to replace it. And that really wasn't what they were saying when they first came out with it. They'd be able to cut away segments, repair it. So that just isn't the case now.
Well, here we're dealing with a couple of things that are already known, that it's going to be stainless steel body and it's an exoskeleton. And, you know, and people will definitely tell me how to pronounce it correctly. I've been practicing all morning, but, you know, so we know that there's a double trouble there. One is obviously this is not something the car makers make cars out of, except for DeLorean, of course, and that had its own issues with it. But also Tesla is kind of known for having issues with body work, with delays, the parts and so forth. And it
Yeah.
sounds like, we'll talk about your experience. You just had your car repaired. Even though they're getting better, but this could be just their sort of reliving that hell that they had to go through with customer service. So let's talk about the stainless steel body and what are the
Yeah.
challenges with fixing it and replacing it.
Yeah, it's kind of like Tesla's taking an existing problem and then adding another layer of problems on top of it. Because
Yes.
as you mentioned, Tesla hasn't been great with getting parts to body shops. This is well documented in the past. Some Teslas have languished for months and months to get fixed. There's been other even EV websites out there that have documented this on YouTube, where there was one kind of popular one where it took them 3 or 4 months to get like kind of a basic repair. They just couldn't get the parts. So Tesla's had a problem with this. They're a new automaker. They don't have that whole part, the stream of the parts all worked out. And plus, I think most of the Model 3 parts actually are going to make the cars now. They're trying to make them as fast as they can, so they don't have such an excess of parts they can ship them all over the place. That said, as I just recently noted, I had a problem with my car. Got hit while I was parked in the parking lot, and it needed to be fixed. And the one thing I said when I got the car was, please just don't have an accident. I don't want to deal with these delays that I've been reading about and everything. So of course, when you really wish for something, it the opposite happens. Never had a new car before that's gotten hit like within a couple months of owning it. But anyway, it happened. It was minor, but still, it needed some body work. It needed a whole new rear bumper skin. They had to replace a whole bunch of things. So it ended up being a decent amount of repairs. To my surprise, and we talked about this already, was that my body shop got all the parts within 9 days. And I talked to the owner of the body shop, and he specifically said, look, he's one of the few certified Tesla body shops in northern New Jersey where I live. And he said, look, they've been bad in the past. It's taken us a long time. We've had customers waiting for a long time. However, now it's been getting better and better and better. And now they're almost as quick as the other legacy automakers. So that's great to hear.
I do remember that. I
My
do
one
remember
data
that.
point.
Sorry, I was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say. I know you're gonna move on from that. That's why I wanted to squeeze in really quick. I had my Tesla's hit 3 times, and I had to deal with the repair shop 3 times, and it wasn't even as bad as others. But I did have to wait for many weeks and drive. I almost maxed out my insurance covering my $25 a day rental car. So and even in the beginning, I believe, of this year, I remember Elon admitted at the conference, at the quarterly call with analysts, that they still just now figured out how to do the parts distribution.
Yeah.
So but it's good to hear that they've gotten better, which sooner or later we're going to get it figured out. But go ahead with your point. Sorry to interrupt.
So now they've kind of ironed that out, and now they're going to throw themselves right back into the fire with this cold rolled steel panels. That's a monocoque exoskeleton. It's not even that like a DeLorean. Yeah, DeLorean used stainless steel, but it wasn't this type of a structure. The DeLorean had a steel frame. They also employed fiber. It was a fiberglass body, I think, with a steel frame. And the stainless steel panels were just like regular exterior panels like most cars have. So with Tesla, not only are they using this rolled steel, but that's the skeleton of the car. That's the whole structural like frame of the car. And so that adds so much more layers. And there's questions about, we've seen other people bring this up, and we're not the first ones to bring this up, but it's worth discussing. As far as crumple zones, the steel is extremely rigid, extremely strong, which on one hand you say, oh, that's great. I want my car to be really strong, but you don't always want your car to be really strong. If there's a really bad accident, you want it to crumple, you want it to give so that the body absorbs the energy and your body doesn't have to absorb the energy. So, I'm sure Tesla has this figured out. I would assume they did, but there's a lot of questions to be answered on how is it going to crumple? how is this really strong, rigid steel going to perform in an accident? And then get past that. And then how do we fix it? You know, it seems like they're pretty big panels. It's not like small pieces on the truck that can be taken off and welded back on. These are big panels with bent edges that go over the sides. And, you know, it seems like it would be something pretty expensive. Even if Tesla has this figured out, I'm sure the body shops are going to have to kind of get certified to work with this, because they're going to be using materials they haven't dealt with before. So I would expect that, you know, you probably, if you're one of the early Cybertruck adopters, take it easy. Don't have an accident, because it's probably going to be tough to get this thing repaired, at least for the first year or two. I mean, I'd be shocked if they figure out the pipeline of parts, getting their service centers up to snuff on this. I mean, there's a lot of body shops that may not even want to touch this. So
Right.
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and so even beyond the accidents, even if you have a ding, right? Of course, it's harder to ding this, but if you have a ding or a little bit of a bend, it's not that easy as, you know, working with even aluminum or any other type of a body. This really requires some, you know, work that maybe not even that hard. As some people I've seen say, listen, you know, working with stainless steel is not that hard. You're right, but you need to find shops that are willing to do this. Tesla will have to obviously hire and train people. So this, once again, might be a bottleneck for them, because this is just one model they have. They still have to service the rest of the fleet that's made out of aluminum body. So even the tiny little dings is not that easy. Talk a little bit about working with stainless steel and putting, panels together or taking out a ding. Yeah. How different is it from a regular body?
It's extremely different. You know, with conventional bodies, other than my i3, that's plastic. You know, if there's a scratch or a ding, they can sand it. They could put in body filler and then paint over that, and you really can't tell the difference. You really can't do that with this. If there's surface scratches, if they're not too deep, they can be like grinded out, and then they regrain the stainless, so it looks like it did before. You know, as for the DeLorean, it's funny. I had a DeLorean. It wasn't mine.
I know,
but I have an uncle that was very successful, and he bought one, and he drove it, and he kind of got tired of it. And when I got my driver's license at 17, as a present, he said, "Here, take the DeLorean. You know, keep it for a while." I ended up keeping it for like 8 months. I mean, how lucky was I? A 17-year-old kid gets a DeLorean and can drive it for 8 months. But he did tell me at the time, he was like, just do not come back here and tell me you had an accident, because he warned me at the time. He goes, these things are incredibly expensive to fix. And he goes, it takes a while because not a lot of people can work on them. So even back then it was a problem. So, you know, and this is adding a whole nother layer of it. The fact that this stainless steel is an exoskeleton. It's not just a body panel that they can just pop off and change. So I love it. I love that Tesla did it. I think it's fantastic. I hope to be a customer one day and have a Cybertruck. But this is going to be, you know, another thing that we have to figure out, and that Tesla has to, you know, walk through, because this isn't going to be easy.
And we're also forgetting about windows. The windows are also not, you know, your regular windows. The what is that? Safe light repair is not going to just show up and replace those probably that easily. But okay, so let's talk about cost.
I'm not too concerned about the glass. The glass, you could go to a Tesla service center and they'll have the glass in stock. They can change the glass. I'm not too worried about that.
I'm worried about anything that comes to getting parts from Tesla. But let's talk about the actual cost, right? Because being tough to repair doesn't cost you, the customer, anything. What does cost, and of course, I probably should walk it back. Like once if it's not covered in the warranty, right, or if it's a scratch, yes, it will cost you some money and wait time. But if we're talking about accidents, where it's going to cost you is insurance, right? Like I remember getting a Tesla in the beginning, and insurance was like $120 a month. That was very average. And then once insurance companies realized, you know, how expensive the repairs are because there's so few shops, and on top of that, how long they have to pay for the rental cars for us, sometimes for weeks and weeks. They upped those prices real quick, and even now, my last Tesla, I was pretty much paying double of what I started with, and Tesla now already tried twice to have their own insurance policy, and they can really even do it that well. Talk about the costs that are actually associated with the repairs, and most importantly with insurance, because that's where our money will probably end up going to.
Yeah. Well, insurance is likely to cost more on the Cybertruck because it's going to cost more to repair. There's no two ways about it. If you have less body shops, and at least initially, there's going to be less body shops that are able to work on this. Besides the parts that are going to be more expensive, the stainless steel, there's going to be less shops that are certified to do this. So with that is going to come slightly higher rates. That's capitalism. If there isn't a million places that can do it, the few places that can are going to charge a little more. And it's going to take the insurance companies a little while to realize that. But once they do, the rates are going to go up. It's kind of like, I remember when the Ford F-150 came out with the new aluminum bed. A friend of mine was one of the early people that got one. And not too long after he got his truck, his insurance slightly went up, and he spoke to his insurance agent. And that was one of the things they brought up, that once they realized that the bed cost like 3 times what a regular bed costs that's made of steel to replace, that they just slightly push up the insurance. Because listen, if the cars are going to cost more to repair, the insurance company has to get their money back somewhere. Insurance companies don't lose. So they know if a vehicle is going to cost more, they're going to charge you more to insure it. I'm sure that's going to be the case with the Cybertruck. And all that said, it's probably going to be worth it because it looks like it's a really cool vehicle, but expect for it to cost you more, to take longer to fix, and probably to insure more than a comparable, conventional pickup truck.
And I wouldn't be surprised, and let me know if you would be, that this could technically be classified as an exotic car.
Well, it's exotic materials, and then I'll circle back to my i3. My i3 has carbon fiber reinforced frame, but that's not classified as an exotic car. So I don't think that they'll classify it as an exotic car just because it's different than every other car. It's using quote unquote exotic materials, but then again, so's carbon fiber that my i3 uses, and that's not classified as an exotic car. The i3 costs a little bit more to insure than a comparable, say, car of that size because the materials cost more. Again, this isn't going to be a deal breaker. Depending where you live in the country, you expect to probably pay 10% more or something for 10 or 15% more for your insurance over a comparable vehicle. But it's going to have to be because the vehicle is going to cost more to repair. There's just no two ways about it.
Yeah, and when you buy a $40,000 car, no matter how exotic it is, having insurance, go up by, I don't know, $50, $60. Sometimes it's a big deal to some people. And of course, not being able to drive. I think the biggest complaint wasn't even so much about the money sometimes, but about like, well, I just got this car and now I'm not driving it. Instead, I'm driving a gas guzzler or just a gas car because that's the only thing that Enterprise has. So there will be some challenges. I think some people will just get it no matter what, and they'll love it no matter what. And there will be some people who will be annoyed enough with it. We'll be like, okay, that's too much.
Well, let's see. Tesla's, like we said, Tesla's been getting better with this, with the whole, parts pipeline. They may be able to prepare for this ahead of the launch and have that stuff worked out and have parts available and everything. And maybe, we're worrying about nothing. You don't know until we get there. But on Tesla's track record, the fact of the matter is when they roll out a car, it's taken them a year or two to catch up to that with their parts pipeline after the launch, and they get there, but it takes a little while. So that's why I was saying probably the early Cybertruck owners, you probably don't want to have an accident for at least the first 6 months to a year.
That's a good advice. Well, our job is to just let people know all of the information because everyone's excited about a lot of flashy stuff, but really when it comes down to actual money, they probably end up spending more. All right, Tom, tell us where everybody else can follow you to get more of this information. I know you've been traveling a lot, so there's a lot of interesting posts that I've been seeing. You're just about to once again go overseas. I'm excited to follow you on all social media. So tell us a little bit where everybody can find you.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm a regular contributor on InsideEVs. Head over there for all the latest electric vehicle news. Of course, when you're not here on E4Electric, you can follow me on Twitter at Tom Moloughney, and I'd like to wish all of the E4Electric community a happy and safe holiday season.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, and I will see you next week.
See you then.
All right, guys. Well, so there you have it. I hope now I know we don't have obviously the numbers about with this, but if history tells us anything, and obviously stainless steel is stainless steel. It is going to be different. It is going to be expensive, and this is just something. I'm not trying to scare you from not getting it. I'm just trying to kind of let you know that there will be some hidden costs that no one's really talking about right now. And you can always think of it as cost of having an exotic car. I think it's going to be exotic car. Just because they're going to be making tens of thousands of them doesn't make it any less exotic, I think. So and of course, obviously, before getting a car, get a quote from your insurance company. That's just usually a good idea. But sometimes I remember trying to get a quote about my Tesla back in 2012, and they're like, we don't even have this thing in our system, and they were trying to actually put it in as exotic car, and I had to say, well, wait, no, it's not. So anyway, something to think about. It's something to build into your calculations as we kind of watch this whole thing evolve in the next couple of years. By the way, thank you to all of you who are watching me live on Patreon. As you know, this is a biggest perk for those who support me on Patreon to watch me live before it goes on YouTube the next day. If you want to support me, go to patreon.com/E4Electric. This is how I make a living, that and my sponsors, so I appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, click on that subscribe button, and if you have, then the bell notification icon, so you don't miss anything moving forward. All right, me and Tom are looking forward to your comments. Other than that, see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.